All right, our board meeting has been out. Talking, rubbing elbows, raising money and awareness. John Deal was out supporting Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital last night at Ballpark Village. You had a nice time, John Deal?
It was. It was a good event.
Yeah. Did you like my jacket?
Ugly.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
The glass is ugly or just ugly?
It was a little loud.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was Don Pardo. I was the
Craig
game
Sager?
show guy. Yeah.
Do you have jackets that aren't loud?
No, but that's not the point. All right. Jane Duker's finished. You finished crying over once?
Oh, yeah, but I'm going again. I have tickets on Sunday, so I'll be going again.
Are you going to cry again at the end?
Absolutely.
Who are you going with this time?
I don't know. I'll find someone to go
Please-
by
please-
myself.
What's this for?
The musical once down at the Fox. It's spectacular.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's as obsessed with this musical as my daughter is with Frozen.
How about you, Tony? I'm busy then.
I'm busy that night.
You guys are? You don't
Well,
want to
wait a
go?
minute. Well, why did I have to go with you?
Well, because you were lucky.
Because you were the only one invited.
I
you
should
were
have said I
lucky.
was busy. Shoot.
He tried to act like he wasn't with me.
All right, that is Jane Duker. She is former chief of staff to Governor Holden. John Deal is Speaker of House in waiting. And Tony Messenger is the editorial page editor of our local hometown newspaper, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Let's get right to it. We'll start with you, Jane Duker. What is going on with Missouri football and Dorial Green-Beckam?
DGB. So there was an article that came out in the Columbia Tribune that really sort of listed numerous facts and situations surrounding an incident that involved his girlfriend, the girlfriend's friend, and where he wanted to get into the house. They tried to shut the door on him. He pushed the door open, pushed the door into the wall, hurt the wall. Allegedly pushed the girlfriend's friend down 4 steps, and then the girlfriend went off with him, and then there were text messages afterwards where the girlfriend was allegedly begging her friend not to press charges because football is all he has. And
also within these text messages, one says, the coaches talked to me and explained to me how serious this is, and there's no time to waste at this point.
Right.
So the girlfriend brought in the fact that the coaches reached out to her.
Right. And then it was supposedly denied that the coaches talked to her, but then
Right.
was it DGB that talked to her and talked to the coaches? And so eventually the victim, who wasn't the girlfriend, decided she wasn't going to press charges. And she said, look, I don't want death threats. I don't want the media hounding me. I don't want the students hounding me. It's not worth it. And so she's not pressing charges. And so the prosecutor is not going to press charges, which I don't fault the prosecutor. I mean, if you've got a hostile witness who doesn't want to participate, you can't make a case. But what really upsets me is it sort of feels like she's the victim is not crazy. I mean, she's got everybody telling her she shouldn't do this, and she sort of knows what it looks like on the other end and how people act toward victims of athletic assaults, athletes assaults, and I'm very perturbed by it. I wish the university would do more to protect the victim and say, look, you can come forward. We're not, we're going to protect you. We're going to support you, but they're not. The girlfriend, I mean, I don't even get me started there. I mean, she's obviously thinks that what he's doing is okay and it's worth it because he's a football player, which really upsets me.
Stupid.
Sort of the female on female crime. And then to top it off is like the girlfriend's mom, who's jumped into the fray and now is hostile to law enforcement, saying, don't contact my daughter.
She contacted the police and
Yep.
said, leave my
Yep.
daughter, who is the girlfriend, alone.
out of it. Even
Yeah.
though there were text messages, or information about how he basically assaulted her as well.
Right.
And so this culture that it's okay to look, the other way for all of this. And, and even on Twitter, I got a little frustrated with people saying, oh, let's get him some help. And, assaulting women is not a disease. It is a crime. Nothing more, nothing less. And this apologetic and the apologists for these athletes, I mean, it really struck a chord with me yesterday when I saw that and said, but I wasn't shocked. And that's what really saddened me.
Yeah, and I think it changes the playing field for him, so to
It
speak.
should.
Some of the problems he's had in the past have been you could chalk it up to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, hanging out with the wrong guy who maybe had pot in the car and
Right.
whatnot. But this is something which is clearly
Right.
his action.
Can't explain it away.
Clearly his intent to do what he did, and it's really worse in a lot of respects than what's happened to him up at this point. He's someone that's obviously going to have to get his life together quickly, or he's going to throw away all of his talent. And you're right. I think a lot of it is what the university can do too. When you bring someone into this situation that can't handle the limelight,
Mhm.
that can't handle the pressure that's put on him. Maybe they need to just park somebody with him.
That's right.
24
Right.
hours a
Whatever
day.
it takes.
Yeah, but I know other schools have done that. That's happened with
Maybe he just
athletes
never
before.
needs to play football ever again
I
for
think
the university.
I think that's where it gets
Right.
really complicated, and that's where if the university, this is not the only situation like this that the University
Right.
of Missouri has faced
Right.
this year or last year or the year before. There have been a variety of situations, including serious allegations of rape, that the university has either ignored or not handled well. This is a big deal, and this one, because it's one of the top athletes in the country, is going to get a lot of attention. And now's when Gary Pinkel's job gets hard. I don't think he can let DGB play for at least half the year, if not the entire year. The difficult part now becomes, what do you do? In Frank Haith's case on the basketball team, they let Zach Price go because he's assaulting other students and he's assaulting other players and clearly is a problem. But Zach Price isn't a star, and it was easier to let him
And he's
go.
never played.
And he's never played. He was a transfer and
Cost-free
everything else.
exercise.
The decision becomes much more complicated when you're dealing with a star athlete, not just a star athlete, but an athlete whose brother is also being recruited to the University of Missouri. And you have a coach who talks about a family atmosphere, and when you make a commitment to these kids and their families that you're going to help these kids get education, that's where it becomes complicated. I think that the university has a commitment to Dorial Green-Beckam to try to help him through this situation, to try to get him focused on education. But I don't think he can see the playing field for at least half the year, if not the entire year, or Gary Pinkel loses control of his program and, and the university loses respect for allegedly caring about how women are treated at that
And if the player's not willing to accept that sort of punishment,
then he's gone.
Probably that player's not willing to accept that he needs to change.
Right. Right.
So it's
He wouldn't be here if he had his, his stuff in a pile. And
so
he
part
doesn't.
of being sorry is accepting the consequence of being sorry.
But this is a story. There's two interesting stories here. One, a player has done wrong and beat up a girl and threw her down the stairs.
Two girls.
We've seen that before. What is most interesting to me about this story is that the one girl is afraid to come forward because of what other students would do to her
in the media and others.
If she makes it harder for a star football player to get on the field.
And there's a history of that at the university, a very recent history of that when there were rape allegations against former point guard Michael Dixon, and it was the victim who got harassed for daring to try to make these allegations public. And in fact, in Mr. Dixon's case, there were more than one allegation, and he ends up being dismissed. The university handled that horribly by trying so hard to keep it quiet for the longest time. And so there's reason for this victim and for other women at that university to be worried about the fact that they're the ones who get re-victimized when something like this happens with a high-profile athlete.
It's one thing if it's a quarterback. It's another thing if it's a coach. It's worse if it's your fellow students who won't let the process work or at least allow you the room to air your grievances.
Well, and that to me speaks to a culture that needs to change. So the university has a job as an educational institution and as an athletic department to say the fact that someone is rightfully worried about how being re-victimized is unacceptable. They've suspended him, but they've not said a word. They haven't said a word that, regardless of what the facts are here, and I'm not asking him to take a position on a process that hasn't finished or maybe never will, but to come up and say it will not be tolerated. Victims are encouraged and will be supported to bring forth charges and to make sure that justice is done.
And this type
Nobody
of
said
action,
it.
whether it happened or not, is unacceptable.
Exactly. And the fact that this woman comes out and says, I am not going to press charges because I know what this looks like, and the university hasn't said a word.
That's Jane Duker, John Deal, and Tony Messenger. We'll come back more with the board meeting here on the Big 550 KTRS. How's your half?